Hey guys, and welcome to another Lord of the Rings Rise to War video. In this one we're going to be going over Elrond, a support tier 3 commander that I think is actually slept on and a little underappreciated 7 seasons in. Elrond is a tier 3 commander obviously, so he's harder to respect up. You really want to get him to R5. That being said, I have him R9 and I still don't feel like I have as many points as I'd really like to see him at. He is a support commander, so once you get him to 20, you do get a nice bonus of 5 skill points. 5 extra skill points without having to invest just that much respect into him. I do have him R9. I feel like I want him R25. He is needed at R5 in my opinion. I think he gets a lot of strength from there, but you definitely want to get as much respect as you can from him. Otherwise just sit at R5 and call it a day. He does have access to Convener, and the nice thing about that is that for 14 points into Lord of Imladris and 7 points into Convener, not only do you get free initiative essentially, but you have a 75% chance to gain follow-up. I did a video recently looking at his Sentinels and his Bow Knights, and they were like hitting for 10 to 15,000, and then they were getting follow-up for another 10 to 15,000. You're looking at close to 60,000 bonus damage in the first 2 rounds, which cannot be understated how crucial that is to knocking out other commanders. The Lord of Imladris is not actually that bad of a title. I would prefer this Convener to be somewhere else, but the reality is that this is a 2-unit enemy attack, and it also at max level prioritizes ranged units, which early game when you're PvP, you don't have a lot. You're not going to get Rangers and Dunedains that quick, so to have a commander skill that targets ranged early is pretty solid. Additionally, he has the Half-Elven. Typically max this out to 15, and then I'll only run him with elves, and what that allows us to do is, in the Half-Elven, the second sentence here, all allies damage dealt plus at max levels 10% for each allied elf unit present. So when I max this out and I run him full elf, he sees a plus 30% damage increase from here. I don't typically take Boon because I need to save the points for elsewhere. So once I get this maxed and run him full elves, he sees plus 30% from there. And then I go into his R5 for Vilya's Ringbearer, and once this is maxed, it's plus 25% for elves. You could just run 1 elf unit, but the reality is that between this and this, you're looking at a plus 55% increase on elvish damage. And then if you want, you can go into Boon. Typically, I would rather you go into White Council and High Alert to offer wide spectrum mitigation against both physical damage and focus burn poison, and that gives him more survivability. He's going to have enough damage bonus from these 2 skills. This helps him keep him alive long enough to get through to a second army or draw well. So he is a very simplistic commander in my opinion. You want more points because it's nice to take out more of his skills, but you don't need that. You essentially just want to go Lord of Imladris, Convener, Half-Elven title, Vilya's Ringbearer, and then White Council and High Alert. I think his kit is actually really, really nice. It's comprehensive. It is race specific towards elves, but not to throw shade, but unlike Gil-galad, there's no way to dodge this damage. Like if you put a pursuit item on your commander and fight Elrond, you're not going to take out what makes him do the damage he does. He's still going to have this. And also, I give him an edge over Gil-galad essentially because he has initiative. So if I run my Elrond equipment, I run my Elrond with a Harp of Lothlorien for several reasons. 1, the focus allows me to boost this stat and then reduce the damage I'm taking. 2, in initiative battles, it comes down to the base stats of the speed of the units, and if I boost my army speed elves, I might get the edge out in a convener battle between Gandalf or Witch King, or if somebody runs a Blitz Fiddle or has initiative. So to me, these 2 things work really well with what I'm trying to do. And third of all, Hunter's Mark. Not only does this give my units pursuit, but it gives Elrond the commander, and if I fight a Gil-galad or if I fight a range build Gandalf, I will be able to target him with this 55% bonus damage along with the follow-up of Convener on top of the Lord of Imladris targeting ranged units. So I think for a cheap accessory like Harp of Lothlorien, I think it works really, really well with Elrond. For his helmet, this one gets a little bit tricky. I think you can very much use a Hysteria Trapper's Hood if you want to run that against PvE or if you're fighting commanders and armies that do not run Madness. Or Stun, which is kind of rare these days. If you're facing a Sauron or a Grima or maybe a Galadriel, I would run a Resolve Horse Helm. If you're facing Witch Kings and Gandalfs, I would run a Warding Arn or Cask. Ideally, though, once you get past the purples, if you can get an Aegis cask, it's dynamite. If you can get a Hunter's Guide Aegis, that's even better, because not only is it going to give you the immunity that you're looking for, but it's also going to further boost your Elvish units. So to me, it's the best of both worlds. For armor, the Hunter skin for the average user, I really would never run a scale mail on him because the bulk of what you want to run is ranged, so it doesn't really benefit. So really, this to me is the only piece of armor and at the purple level that really makes sense for Elrond. And then once you get into golds, you could run a Mithril coat, that's not bad, but I tell you, you're better off with Ranger Shroud. It gives, once again, the plus attack that you want to make use of for your Elvish units. And to me, the substat I would fully recommend is going to be Resilience of Archers. Yes, you're going to run into focus damage. Yes, you're going to run into burn and poison. But the reality is that your commander, Elrond, has high alert. So you're going to be getting special damage mitigation from high alert. What you don't have is the fact that your archer units are going to be squishy. Elvish units just are squishy. In my opinion, I think you're going to get more benefit from buffing up their physical defense as opposed to their special defense when you already have a high alert for that. So that's just my opinion. People may argue otherwise, but I think making him well-rounded across the board offers you a lot better value than just like completely eliminating burn damage, but then you run into Reapers or like a nuke, a Theoden or something that just decimates the physical side. Looking into his weapon, very simplistic. If you want to go Mirkwood Bow, go Mirkwood Bow. If you need to go Elven Dirk, I guess you could go Elven Dirk. It doesn't really boost your attack. But if you're going to go gold, go with an Elven White Knife, Might of Elves. Very simplistic. +6 attack and plus, up to 12% on the refine. So I think between this item you get 6, this one you'll get 3. There's 3 here. That's 12. You're not going to find a Elvish accessory, to my knowledge, that offers bonus attack, but the Harper Lothlorien fills reasons to use it to where I think it's more beneficial offering that as opposed to trying to hunt for something gold particular. So that's how I would both skill and equip Elrond. I think Elrond has a lot of good items in his kit to really make him viable. So I recommend him. I think he's a terrific commander. A couple things of note here. If you had a lot of respect, you can get a bonus 30% damage here. So if you're fighting alchemists, there's 30% right there, and you can run any composition. If you're running, for some reason, melee units, you can get 40% healing every round here. If you want additional damage against, the same champion of the light races, you can get Starlight here for another 14%. Coalition will offer perhaps, a 75% chance of initiative to elves. So he does have a lot of things in his kit that kind of encourage you to spend and respect him up. Granted, for his core items, though, I would say top R0 into Convener, take his bottom R0 title, go into his R5 for the damage boost, and then here in his R3 for the major mitigation. So thank you guys for joining in. I hope this helps you out. I look forward to seeing more of him on the battlefield. Take care, guys.